My name is Dr. James Sutton. This short program builds upon our understanding and intervention of an extreme sort of behavior in young people that I call desperate behavior. The behavior was discussed in the Part 1 video. In this second part, I'll suggest specifics for management of the youngster caught up in desperate behavior. Because of the time limits put on these videos, I will be brief. Check my other videos for more information. It covers a lot of these concepts. What is shared here is more deeply covered in a book I am currently writing, tentatively entitled Beyond Behavior. Parts of the book have been appearing in my monthly email publication, the ODD Management Digest. Subscription is free. Almost without exception, typical interventions for desperate behavior are tactical. They focus on behavior only, not the issues beneath it. A shift in focus involves a strategic approach. We want to arrive at that point where the youngster himself decides the inappropriate behavior is no longer necessary. That would be the best possible way. Think about that for a moment. Isn't that what we want? Better outcomes? Building on the Part 1 video, we will consider interventions in these 6 areas: assuring physical and emotional safety, identifying and controlling patterns in behavior, promoting skills of self-soothing, increasing tolerance for frustration, facilitating appropriate expression, and creating empowerment. Assuring physical and emotional safety. On the surface, this one looks almost laughable. Why should we be so concerned about the safety of a youngster whose behavior threatens the welfare of everyone else? Well, we should be concerned because perception fuels behavior. If a youngster feels uncomfortable or threatened, he's going to do something to create relief. If, for example, the child feels packed in with a bunch of other kids, or if he feels pressured to use interpersonal skills he does not have, a behavior that creates physical and emotional distance and isolation might well happen again and again. It's no surprise, then, that the behavior precisely creates the intended results. Shoving and hitting and spitting at other children leads to isolation, and such an exclusion from lunch recess, for instance. And it might be exactly what the child wanted all along. No pressure. The solution to this problem involves creating the desired relief before the behavior. Now, this could involve creating more space or smaller groupings in class, especially if the youngster seems to require more distance between himself and others. Consider putting the youngster on a very brief task with just one other child. The notion here is a success experience while working with a peer, not so much the task itself. Another consideration could be the creation of a no-hassle zone around the youngster's desk and workspace. It's a generous boundary marked off with tape that buffers him from the uncomfortable closeness of others, and it establishes that the youngster will remain in the zone and not bother or irritate others in return for the same consideration. And, as we will see later, substantial growth can start right here. Identifying and controlling patterns in behavior. Desperate behavior tends to collect in patterns that develop and become resistant to intervention. Behaviors happen, and they occur in space and time. No exceptions. There are no spaceless and timeless behaviors. Anything someone does happens somewhere and sometime, and this should give us a clue. Redirecting inappropriate behaviors and altering the where and the when they happen is paramount to not only stopping some of these behaviors, thus disrupting a pesky pattern, but of showing the youngster change is possible. As a for instance, change the place where inappropriate behavior has happened, or switch to an activity that doesn't lead into the problem as easily. Promoting skills of self-soothing. This one is big. This youngster cries out for soothing. Problems develop when this youngster continually relies on others for that soothing because they cannot self-soothe very well at all. They don't know how to do it. So they inappropriately reach out to others for all the soothing they can beg and steal. I call this taking hostages. It's a bottomless pit and can lead to serious, compulsive, and addictive behaviors. Interventions for teaching self-soothing could include things like specific exercises in focused breathing, such as this example of square breathing, or the symbolic use of lotion or cream as a self-applied gesture of kinesthetic soothing. Some of these interventions are discussed in the video, Slowing Down an Escalating Child. Check it out. Increasing tolerance for frustration. The advantage of having access to a child every day is that we can attempt to ever so slowly build up his tolerance for frustrating events and circumstances. For example, a youngster throws an assignment on the floor because he's overwhelmed with a number of problems on the page. One solution is to come in under his radar and limit the problems to what he can manage. Gradually, however, one more problem is added, or the structure of the assignment is increased in such a way that the effective control is maintained. The kid with a generous space around him, the no-hassle zone, probably could tolerate the space being just a bit smaller on Monday morning, especially if he helps the teacher trim it down a tiny bit each week. It's an obvious sign of improvement, and the youngster knows it. Facilitating appropriate expression. These youngsters struggle for expression that can be questioned, interpreted, and explained. But the child is locked in images and cannot express them. Frustration is compounded. Result, more desperate behavior. Interventions include teaching the youngster a simple model and vocabulary for feelings. It begins with 4 feelings that can be understood by any bright 2 or 3-year-old child: sad, mad, glad, and scared. The child is encouraged to interpret everyday experiences in terms of these 4, with the goal of gradual improvement in the oral expression of feelings associated with everyday circumstances and events. And finally, creating empowerment. Consequences of behavior strip this youngster of personal power. If the youngster cannot behave appropriately, everyday privileges and opportunities are taken away, and understandably so. A sense of hopelessness and more desperate behavior can sometimes result as frustration builds. Empowerment is created in small ways so the youngster can interpret progress. Making a choice from a menu of options would be empowering. If the youngster helps the teacher make the no-hassle zone a tiny bit smaller, that's empowerment. Helping someone would be empowering, as would any small job or responsibility given the child. Let me make one final note about addressing the root causes of desperate behavior. Psychotherapy would be recommended for the youngster who has experienced serious trauma in his or her past. If the child's behavior is image-based, the therapy should be also.